Guys, we did it. We finally figured out who's good. Don't you dare. What's up, everybody? Well, God bless. I hope you all are having a great week. And with that, let's get right into this week's power rankings. Los Angeles Rams. Yeah, this is still an elite team. And I think the reason for that is even though they lost to the Panthers, they had a really easy bounce back win this week against a not so good Cardinals team. And yeah, they're still back in the top 5, and they are leading the NFC once again. The Bengals are not in a great situation right now. I'm going to put them in the mid tier for now because the division is not entirely out of reach. But considering the fact that the Steelers have an easy schedule and the fact that the Bengals really don't, it seems very likely that the Steelers are going to win the division, and there's really no way the Bengals are going to sneak into the wild card spot in this AFC. The New York Giants are a tanking team, but they had a pretty good bye week because the Titans won, so they jumped up to the number 1 overall pick. So it was a successful bye week for the Giants. The Seattle Seahawks. Yeah, this is a borderline elite team. A very, very easy win over a bad Atlanta Falcons team. And in general, it was a good week for Seattle. Sam Darnold wasn't perfect, but his connection with JSN continues to be the best in football. I mean, arguably. But this team is just so good, particularly JSN. Yeah, the Ravens season is on life support now. Like, their loss to Pittsburgh is really, really bad, and they are looking at possibly missing the playoffs for the first time in a while. And it's not a pretty sight in Baltimore right now. The Cleveland Browns are really, really bad. I'd say they're worse than the Giants right now because at least the Giants have the number 1 overall pick and they have a lot of talent to build around. Shador Sanders had a really good game this week, and you like to see that, but it seems like the team is just devoid of long-term talent outside of him, Shador, Miles Garrett, and maybe Quidshot Judkins and Harold Fannin. But that's really all the good talent you have on this Browns team long term. And it's not a very pretty sight. The New York Jets are just a bad team. They put up no fight against a resurging Dolphins team this week, and in general, it's not a great time to be a Jets fan. Another year for the Jets, let's just put it that way. The Eagles, man, things are looking worse and worse in Philadelphia right now. Another terrible loss this week, and this time to a Chargers team that's been struggling as of late. And Jalen Hurts, man, his performance on Monday night was absolutely atrocious. 4 interceptions, and it was not a good night for Jalen Hurts. Now, is Jalen Hurts a top 5 quarterback? Well, that's really debatable. I mean, he has a Super Bowl to his name, but he also has games like this. So it's very debatable. I know a lot of people are hating on him right now, but this was not a good week for Philadelphia. And offensively, in particular, they have a lot to figure out moving forward. The Carolina Panthers just continue to get hotter, and they are currently tied with the Bucks for the division lead, and that has to feel good. I mean, the Bucks had a really terrible game losing to the New Orleans Saints, but for the Saints, this was the game of Tyler Shuck, and he was pretty good against the Buccaneers, and you have to be happy with that. And the Panthers didn't beat the Saints, the Bucks didn't beat the Saints. The Saints are kind of a spoiler team. You do not want to face them simply because they are a threat to spoil your season. I mean, the Chiefs don't really have much of a season to spoil, but man, things are bad in KC right now. I mean, they lost to the Texans. They've dropped to 6-7, and just things are not good in KC right now. It seems like 90% certain that the Chiefs will miss the playoffs for the first time in over 10 years. The New England Patriots, I think they're up there as the elite team in football right now. I had them as number 1 for quite a while, and it seemed like people were not quite in agreement with me, mostly because of their bad schedule. But hey, they've won 10 in a row, and they are the hottest team in football, unquestionably. The Miami Dolphins are not the hottest team, but they are getting much better. They're now up to 6-7, and they're not going to make the postseason, mostly because of their brutal Final Four game schedule. But the Dolphins have some things to like, and if you told that to Dolphins fans halfway through the year, they would not have believed you. I will say that. The Denver Broncos are yet another elite team, and I think they're a little better than LA is right now. But the Broncos continue to roll. They were able to take care of the Raiders pretty decisively on Sunday, And it was in general a pretty good week for the Broncos as they also took back the number 1 seed in the AFC. This was not a good week for the Colts at all. And they are plummeting down these rankings after Daniel Jones' season is now officially over. And it's not a great time to be a Colts fan. Their season is just about over because Daniel Jones is out. I don't trust Riley Leonard or whoever the Colts quarterback is moving forward. And it's not good vibes in Indianapolis right now. It just kind of feels like their season is over. The Houston Texans, though, their season is alive. They are 8-5. They are the 7th seed in the playoffs right now, and they could still somehow win this AFC South, which is absolutely nuts. The San Francisco 49ers had a pretty decent bye week because the Bears lost, so they get to move up a spot, but the Lions also won, which wasn't good for the 49ers. So it was a mediocre bye week for the San Francisco 49ers. The Tennessee Titans, it kind of depends. If you're a Titans fan that's rooting for the tank job, then you're not happy with how this week went. But if you just wanted to see your team actually get a win, then you're probably happy with how this week went. So we'll just leave them in the tanking tier, but they get to jump the Browns, who they beat this week. The Pittsburgh Steelers are back, baby. And with how bad the Ravens and Bengals are, it seems like the Steelers could finally win the AFC North. And that will be a very interesting story. I mean, they're probably going to get bounced in the first round by the Bills, but hey, at least they win their division, most likely. The Dallas Cowboys are a good but not great team, but their loss to the Lions basically ended any playoff hopes that they had. So this is still a good team, but this is not a playoff team. So we're just going to leave them there. Actually, I'm going to put them below the 49ers. I don't think they deserve to be above the 49ers. The Buffalo Bills had a pretty good game that'll put them back in the borderline elite tier. They're able to beat a Bengals team that had Joe Burrow back, and things are looking better in Buffalo right now. Is the division probably out of the equation? Yes. But will they probably have no trouble dominating a mediocre Steelers team in the wild card? Also, yes. The Minnesota Vikings are a bad team. I don't care that they beat an even worse Washington team 31 to nothing. This is not a good Vikings team. JJ McCarthy, even though he had a good game against Washington, is probably not the answer in Minnesota, as many people have said on the internet as of the last few weeks. The Jacksonville Jaguars are suddenly all the way back and into the borderline elite tier. I mean, a statement win over Indianapolis that puts them firmly in the driver's seat of the AFC South. Now we just have to hope that Trevor Lawrence doesn't fumble the division away. Actually, that's pretty likely. I'd say the Detroit Lions are probably in the borderline elite tier after that win. I mean, yes, that's probably very biased of me to say, but look at the good but not great tier. Do you think that the Lions are better than all of these teams? Yes. And I think that the division is still a possibility if we win out and the Packers lose 2 of their last 4. We win the division. But the most likely scenario is that we win out and we get a wild card berth. That's the best case scenario for us. But the teams we're rooting against from now on are the Packers, Bears, and the 49ers. Those are the main teams that we want to lose from here on out. So that's what the Lions need. We need to win. We need to win as much as possible, and we need some help. That's what we need right now. The Bucks, they just need to hold on to a division crown that is quickly getting away from them, and it's not a pretty sight in Tampa Bay right now. But eventually, I think that this Tampa Bay team should, keyword being should, get it together. The Chicago Bears are still a borderline elite team, and I still think they're better than the Jags and Lions. But that was not a great loss against an elite Packers team on Sunday, and it wasn't a very good game in general for that Jaguar or for that Bears team. The Commanders are a tanking team. I can't believe I'm saying this now because at the start of the year, we all thought that this team would be contending for the playoffs, and instead they're contending for a top 5 pick, which has to be disappointing for Commanders fans. The Raiders are also contending for the number 1 overall pick. They now jumped up to number 2 because of the Titans win, and I guess it was a good week for the Raiders, but they also pretty much got dominated by a division rival, so that also has to suck. Unfortunately, Green Bay is now back up into the elite tier, and it's kind of unfortunate. Like the Bears or Lions don't really seem like they're gonna match Green Bay this year, unfortunately. And it's mostly because not nobody in the NFL seems to figure out how to stop Micah Parsons. And so it just seems like because of that, everybody in this division is screwed. The Chargers are definitely a borderline elite team after their victory over the Eagles this week. And in general, it was a pretty good win, but it also helps when Jalen Hurts throws, what, 4 interceptions? And then finally, we round this off with the Arizona Cardinals, who are also tanking. But if you want an official 32 to 1 ranking, here we go. 32 Raiders, 31 Browns, 30 Titans, 29 Giants, 28 Jets, 27 Saints, 26 Commanders, 25 Cardinals, 24 Vikings, 23 Falcons, 22 Dolphins, 21 Colts, 20 Chiefs, 19 Bengals, 18 Ravens, 17 Cowboys, 16 49ers, 15 Texans, 14 Buccaneers, 13 Steelers, 12 Panthers, 11 Eagles, 10 Chargers, 9 Jaguars, 8 Lions, 7 Bears, 6 Bills, 5 Seahawks, 4 Packers, 3 Rams, 2 Broncos, and 1 Patriots. But thank you for watching. God bless. And with that,
Peace!